Rain fell from the dark sky, cold and heavy. The alien village burned with orange flames rising high. Smoke filled the air, and screams echoed across the stone pathways. In the middle of the chaos, she stood. An alien mother, tall, graceful, strong. Her skin had a soft blue glow, her eyes sharp and wild, scanning every corner. In her arms she held her little girl barefoot, shaking. With wide eyes full of fear, "Don't let go," the mother whispered, pressing her daughter's head against her chest. Her voice was low and calm, but her hands were trembling. Around them, sharp arrows flew through the air, hitting walls, shattering windows, piercing bodies. The attackers were brutal. No warning, no mercy. The mother had no weapon. Her only shield was her own body. She pushed her daughter toward a pile of broken stones and metal. "Hide here. Stay low, no matter what," she said. The girl hesitated, but her mother's eyes told her not to argue. The child slid into the narrow gap between broken panels. Her mother took one last look. Her face softened for a second. Then she turned back toward the flames. She ran, not away, but toward the sound of the screams, toward danger. Villagers were still running, some too slow to escape. She helped lift a fallen elder. She guided 2 crying children into the shadows. Her feet slipped on the wet ground, but she never stopped. Then it happened. From the rooftops above, a figure aimed an arrow. The mother heard the whisper of the bowstring. She turned too late. The arrow flew fast, sharp, and cruel, but she didn't run. She stepped between the arrow and a small boy trying to escape. The arrow struck her back with a sickening thud. Her body jerked, and for a second, she just stood there, frozen. Her eyes widened, her breath caught, and her knees gave out. She collapsed. Blood mixed with rain on the ground. Her face hit the stone, eyes still open. Around her, the world blurred. The flames, the shouts, the panic, it all faded. She had protected the boy. She had protected her own child. But now, she was fading. The girl, still hiding, saw everything. Her tiny hands covered her mouth. Her mother was not moving. Her body lay still under the rain. Then a sound, boots. Not fast. Not loud. Calm footsteps. A shadow appeared through the smoke. Tall and steady. Not alien. Not one of them. Man-human. He walked slowly, unbothered by the fire or the chaos. Jacket was torn, his face covered with ash, and his hands were empty. He knelt beside the mother's body. The girl's heart pounded. Was he one of the invaders? Would he hurt her too? But the man didn't speak. He turned the mother gently on her side, pressed his fingers to her neck. A pulse, weak but still there. Then he looked up. He scanned the area. His eyes landed on the broken stones nearby. On the tiny face peeking from within, ta-ta-ta, the girl froze. He didn't say anything. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small, glowing device. He placed it on the mother's back. A soft light spread from it, slowing the bleeding. The girl stepped out from her hiding place, legs shaky, teeth chattering. She walked toward them slowly, unsure. The man saw her and smiled, but it wasn't a full smile. It was sad, quiet, as if he had seen too much. "Your mother is still breathing," he said, softly. His voice was deep and warm. The girl looked down at her mother's face, tears rolling down her cheeks. She dropped to her knees beside her. "Is she going to die?" "Not today," the human said. He picked up the mother, lifting her gently, like she weighed nothing. His hands were strong, but careful. The girl clung to his leg as he turned toward the smoking hills beyond the village. "Follow me," he said. "I know a place." She followed. Rain still fell. Fire still burned behind them, but ahead, there was only one thing: hope. The sky behind them burned red. Flames still danced on the rooftops of the broken village, and black smoke curled into the sky like fingers reaching for something they could never hold.
Ow.
But ahead only darkness, wet ground, and trees that whispered. With every step, the human man walked without fear. He carried the alien mother in his arms, her body limp and blood-soaked, her breath slow, At his side, the little alien girl ran, clutching his jacket, her bare feet splashing through puddles, her face streaked with ash and rain. She didn't know who he was, but something about him, his voice, his hands, his eyes made her stay close. The path twisted through the forest, uphill and hidden. No one followed. No attackers, no beasts, only the sound of falling rain and the woman's quiet breathing. Finally, the man stopped near a half-collapsed bunker buried in the hillside. Moss grew over its steel doors, and vines wrapped around the rusted handle like nature had tried to erase its past. He placed the mother down gently inside. The walls of the bunker were cold, but dry. He set a small device on the floor, and soft, yellow light filled the space. The girl sat in the corner, watching every move. He didn't speak at first. He knelt beside the mother, pulling out strange tools from a hidden pouch. A silver thread, a blue glowing liquid, a seal made of heat. His fingers moved with the skill of someone who had done this many times. "You're fixing her?" The girl whispered. "I'm trying," he replied, eyes still on the wound. The girl looked at him. His wet hair stuck to his forehead, his jacket torn, his boots muddy. He didn't look like a soldier, didn't smell like a raider. He looked tired and strong and kind. She crawled closer. "Why did you help us?" He finally looked at her. Because no one else did. That answer hung in the air. Simple, honest, heavy. He finished sealing the wound, wiped his hands on his sleeve, and placed a thick blanket over the mother's body. She stirred, her eyes twitching. Then she spoke, her voice rough and broken. "Myron." She whispered, "Where's Myron?" "I'm here, Mother," the girl said, rushing to her side. She held her mother's hand tightly. The woman opened her eyes just barely and then saw the human beside her. Her body tensed. Her lips moved, fast and panicked, speaking in a language no human should understand. But he did. He answered back in perfect, alien speech, soft and steady. Myron's mother froze. Her wide eyes locked onto his. Her voice cracked. You speak the tongue of the Flameborn." The man nodded once. "I do." Her gaze grew sharp. "Who taught you?" I listened. She tried to rise, but pain pulled her back. "What do you want with us?" "Nothing," he said, shaking his head. "You were dying, I helped. That's all." Myron looked between them. The man and her mother spoke in ways she'd never heard before. Her mother, who trusted no one, looked at this human not with hatred but confusion. "How do you know our words?" The mother asked again, voice lower this time. The man looked at his hands, then at her. "What?" "Because once, long ago, I fought. You're kind, and I learned your songs before I ever raised my weapon." Silence. The mother blinked, like she had no answer. Then she coughed hard, her chest shaking. Myron held her tighter. The man stood and walked to a hidden shelf in the bunker. He poured warm water from a silver flask and handed it to Myron. "Give her this." Slowly. The child obeyed. As her mother drank, her strength returned, little by little. The color came back to her face, and her eyes grew clearer. She looked at the man again, still unsure, still guarded, but the fear had faded. Outside, the storm grew stronger. Lightning lit up the sky in flashes, and thunder rolled like the earth itself was warning them. The man looked toward the door. "They'll come for her," he said softly. The arrow wasn't meant to kill. It was a mark. The mother's face went cold. "You mean someone tracked us?" He nodded. "They know she lives. They know you protected her. They won't stop until they take her back." The mother reached for her daughter, pulling her close, wrapping both arms around her despite the pain. "I will die before I let them have her." The man stepped forward and knelt down. "Then let's make sure you don't have to." The storm had passed, but the fear had not. The fire in the distant village had faded into smoke and silence. The hills were calm again. But the old bunker held 3 souls who knew the calm wouldn't last. The alien mother sat propped against the cold metal wall. Her body was stiff with pain, but her eyes were sharper, now focused. Her daughter Myron lay curled beside her. fast asleep with one hand holding her mother's arm and the other resting on the human's coat. And the man? He stood by the entrance of the bunker, eyes never blinking, watching the trees. He hadn't slept. He hadn't spoken since the warning. She studied him again now in the morning light. His back was broad, his stance quiet but alert. He was not a common traveler, not a scavenger, not even a soldier. He moved like someone trained in silence. Someone used to being hunted, yet never afraid. "You said you fought my kind," she finally said. He turned only his head. "Yes." "Which war? Does it matter?" he replied. She frowned. "If it brought you here to my people, then yes." He walked back toward her slowly. Myron didn't stir, only breathed gently under the blanket. The man crouched and pulled a piece of folded cloth from his jacket. Inside, it told metals. Faded, worn, not human. She narrowed her eyes. "You fought with us," she whispered. "I did, but you're human." "I was sent to spy at first," he said. "To listen, learn, and break you from within." He said it without pride. Her hand moved slowly to the side of her leg, where a sharp, broken shard of steel rested just under the blanket. "So what stopped you?" He saw her movement. He didn't stop her. "I met a woman who could see truth. Before words. She fed me, healed me, let me sleep inside her family's walls. When she was taken, I burned the outpost to the ground. After that, I was no longer welcome on either side." The silence grew heavy between them. "You betrayed your own," she said. "I betrayed my orders," he answered. She looked at him with a strange kind of anger. Not hatred, not fear, something more raw. "Why are you helping us?" He looked down at Myron. "Because she reminds me of the child I failed." The mother's breath caught. "I wasn't fast enough then," he continued, "but I am now." Myron stirred slightly as if sensing the weight of their voices, but didn't wake. The mother lowered her hand, letting go of the shard. She still didn't trust him, but her heart felt something strange. Not comfort, not relief, but recognition. "Your name?" she asked. He hesitated, then gave it. "Rain," she repeated it under her breath. "Rain, that is not a human name. It was given to me by the woman I told you about. It means stone and storm in your tongue." Her eyes widened. "Then she was from the Temple of Winds." He nodded once. "You carry a warrior's step," she added, "but your pain follows you louder than your feet." Gave no reply to that. Then a sound outside. Rain turned at once. A slight crack of branches. Not wind, not animal. He reached for a strange object under his belt, shaped like a weapon but glowing like no human tech. He turned to the mother. "Stay here. If I don't return in 5 minutes, take Myron and run north." "You won't last alone," she warned. He opened the door halfway, his body a shadow between light and steel. "Never last anywhere," he said, and slipped into the trees like a ghost. The mother pulled Myron close and whispered into her ear, waking her. "Quiet now. We may need to run." Myron blinked, confused. "Is he gone? Only for a moment? Will he come back?" The mother held her tighter. Outside, in the trees, rain moved like mist through the undergrowth. He found the broken footprint, not human, not alien, something else. He climbed a ridge quickly and spotted a shape watching from far off. A bounty hunter, wearing ancient armor patched with pieces stolen from different worlds. He wasn't just tracking for coin. He was a message. A warning. More were coming. The hunter turned in for a second. Their eyes met across the hills. Then Rain raised his hand, not in threat but in command. The hunter paused, confused, and then backed away step by slow step before fading into the mist. Back. At the bunker, the mother watched from the small slit window, and her voice cracked as she whispered to herself. He didn't chase him, because he didn't have to. Myron was asleep again, curled beside the fire that Rain had built with quiet care. Her face twitched now and then, as if dreams troubled her. The alien mother sat close by, wrapping a blanket around her daughter's shoulders, never letting go. But her eyes were on the human. Renee stood just outside the bunker now, motionless under the silver light of twin moons. His shoulders were tight, his jaw locked. He had returned without a word, and the tension followed him back, like smoke on skin. "You didn't fight him?" the mother finally said. Renée didn't answer. "You let the hunter go." Still nothing. She stood, slowly using the wall to steady herself. Her body still ached, but her voice carried strength again. "Tell me what that means, Rain. What did he see in you that made him turn around?" He turned, finally meeting her eyes. He wasn't just a tracker, he was a scout. Her breath caught. From the frozen reach, Rain nodded. The mother. They stepped closer, voice low. "Scouts don't run, they mark, observe, then return to unleash something worse." "I know," Rain said. "Then why didn't you kill him?" Rain stepped inside and closed the heavy door behind him. He knelt beside the fire, stared into the quiet flames. The mother stood behind him, waiting. He finally spoke. "Because if I killed him, they'd send the split claws next." Then the mourned. Then worse. She felt cold spread through her chest. Those names were not spoken often, not even in her world. "You faced them?" she asked. He nodded once. More than once. The fire crackled softly. Myron shifted in her sleep, mumbling something. Her small hand reached for her mother. The woman bent down quickly, whispering calming words into her daughter's ear. Myron quieted, then a knock, not at the door, but inside. A heavy knock, hollow, metallic, from the far wall. The mother froze. Rain was already moving. He pulled back a panel on the right side of the bunker, revealing something unexpected. A second passage. A narrow shaft, buried behind false walls. Dust fell as the door creaked open. Inside stood a figure. Not a man, not a beast. It was something in between. Long arms. Pale armor shaped like bones. No eyes, only a mask made of carved glass and steel. It held a spear carved with names in old blood. The mother gasped, but Rain raised his hand not to attack. But in some silent gesture she didn't understand. The creature did not move. Then Rain spoke. "I knew you'd come." The creature tilted its head. "You're not here to kill them," Rain said softly. "You're here to see if I'm still bound." The mother stood in shock, trying to process what was happening. "What? What is it?" Rain answered without. Turning, "He's called a watcher. I thought those were myths." "Were." Rain stepped forward, calm. The watcher spoke at last not in words, but in something like vibration. The walls shook gently, and the fire flickered. The mother felt the meaning before she understood it. The watcher asked, "Is she the one?" Rain looked back at the alien child, still sleeping, peaceful in the silence. "She is," he said, "but she doesn't know yet." The watcher stepped back, fading into the tunnel again. The metal door began to close behind it, but before it vanished, it turned once more toward the mother and bowed. Then it was gone. Rain closed the wall behind him. Silence returned. The mother stared at him. "What are you not telling me?" Sat down again, tired, older than he looked. "You think I saved her by chance?" he said quietly. "But I was sent." Her voice cracked. "By who?" "By the ones who believe your daughter is more than blood and breath. The ones who know her voice can unlock something ancient, something sleeping under your burned cities." She stared at him, heart racing. "You mean she carries the song?" Nodded. Her knees buckled and she dropped beside the fire. No, she can't. We buried that line." You buried nothing," Rain said. "You only delayed it." Myron stirred again, unaware of the storm around her, and Rain, with a voice quiet as ash, whispered, "They didn't come for your death. They came for her voice. And now the whole galaxy knows she's alive." The child sat by the fire, humming softly to herself. It wasn't a song she had learned. It wasn't even something she understood. It came from somewhere deep inside her, like a memory not hers. And when the sound left her lips, the flames bent gently toward her. Her mother froze. She recognized the melody, the song of origin. It hadn't been heard for generations. Not since the old cities had fallen. Not since the royal bloodlines were hunted and erased from the stars. But now, Here it was, carried in the breath of her little girl. Rain didn't interrupt. He just watched the fire shift with each note. The glow on Myron's skin was faint, but real, something ancient, moving under the surface. When the girl stopped, the air felt colder. The mother's voice shook. "Where did you learn that?" Myron blinked, confused. "I don't know. I just feel it when I'm warm, when I feel safe." Rain stood slowly, face unreadable. He walked to the back of the bunker, opened a locked case, and pulled something out, a flat silver tablet, old and covered in dust. Placed it gently in front of the girl. She touched it. The tablet lit up instantly. The mother gasped. "Royal tech. It only responds to rain," nodded. "Bloodlines. And that one," he said, pointing at the girl, "was never supposed to survive." The mother's voice cracked. "I hid her. I told no one. Even her father thought she was just a normal child." "She's not," Rain said, "and now the stars will burn to claim her." Thunder rumbled in the distant snowstorm, just the sound of engines too large to be heard without trembling the ground. The mother stood quickly. "Someone's landing nearby." Rain moved to the entrance, pulling the bunker's shield across the door. "We don't have time," he said. "They're not here to ask questions." The mother stepped between him and the door. "Tell me who they are." He looked into her eyes, serious and cold. "They are called the Veiled Crown." Her mouth went dry. "That's a myth." "No," Rain said. "They're real, and they don't speak. They only take what's marked." The mother turned to her daughter. "Then we run." Rain shook his head. "There's nowhere far enough. They have ships that walk through silence, minds that bend machines, and voices that kill before sound escapes the throat." The mother raised her chin. "Then we fight." "You'll lose," he said plainly. She stared at him. "Will you?" Rain didn't answer. Outside, dust was already beginning to swirl. The trees didn't sway. They bowed, bending ever so slightly, like something heavy had entered the air. The mother grabbed Myron, pulling her into her arms. "We won't give her up." Rain stood silent for a moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring, a simple band made of old bone and black metal. He knelt in front of Myron and took her hand. "If you wear this," he said softly, "they won't see your mind, just your face." "Will it protect her?" the mother asked. "No," Rain whispered. "It will protect you from what she might become." Before the mother could answer, the door lit up from outside, an unnatural glow, like moonlight poured through frozen glass. A voice, smooth and cold, passed through the walls without sound. The light pulsed in time with it. The child carries the song, "Surrender," or "Witness your own undoing." Myrin clung to her mother's side. "I'm scared." Rain placed one hand on the door. His voice was steady. "You don't get to take her," he said. The light flared, burning white now, washing the walls clean, but the mother didn't move back. She stepped forward, and in her voice, something broke free, something older than pain. "She is my daughter," she said. "I would rather burn with her than hand her over to the shadows." The light paused. Rain smiled faintly. "Good answer." Then he turned toward the girl, his eyes darker than before. "But now you need to decide." Myron looked up. Ronnie asked gently, "Do you want to hide, or do you want to rise?" She didn't speak. She only reached into her chest pocket, pulled out the small shard of metal her mother once gave her, Dawn, placed it in Rain's hand. It was not just a keepsake. It was a call. Rain nodded, outside. For a second, but it was enough. Because in that silence, something else answered the call. They heard the hum before they saw the light. The sound wasn't loud, it was low, like the breath of something old, something buried waking up again. It moved through the walls of the bunker, down the girl's spine, into the bones of the floor. The mother pressed her daughter's face into her chest, whispering gently, "Don't listen. Don't let them into your mind." But Myron already felt it, not pain, not fear, recognition. The ones outside weren't strangers. She didn't know their names, but somehow they knew hers. Rain stepped back from the door, looking at the shard the girl had handed him. It was glowing now, soft golden veins moving across its cracked surface like living light. The mother stared at it. That shard was from her crib, from the old planet. Rain nodded. It's not just a shard, it's a key. The girl looked. Up? A key to what? Rain's eyes softened. To a name the galaxy forgot. The white glow outside returned blinding, smooth and cold. This time, it wasn't a warning. It was an arrival. The door of the bunker didn't break, dissolved and stepping through the mist. They came, not soldiers, not beasts. They wore robes like glass, armor like breath, tall, faceless, silent. Their presence bent the air. Symbols glowed along their limbs, ancient runes. Long band across the systems, the veiled crown had entered. The mother stood up, holding Myron behind her. You won't take her. They did not speak. One stepped forward, lifting a hand. Didn't touch. It didn't need to. The air around the mother shimmered, and her knees buckled. Blood ran from her nose. Rain moved fast, standing between them, hand raised not in violence. But in sin, he spoke their language, not words. But tone, vibration, meaning. She bears the name. The one in front froze. A long silence followed. Then it responded not aloud. But in every mind present, she was never meant to survive. Rain nodded, yet she has. Her name was erased by decree of the Nine. Rain stepped aside, pointing to the girl, but it still lives. In her, the faceless one turned its head slowly, curiously toward the girl. And Myron, eyes wide, stepped forward without fear. Her voice was small but clear. What is my name? The world seemed to pause. Wind stopped. Even time held its breath. And then the answer came. Not from the enemy, not from Rain, not even from her mother, but from within her. She spoke it aloud. Her voice strange and strong, layered with voices not her own. Sarathel, Vanna, daughter of flame, child of the bound throne. Her mother dropped to her knees in shock. The name belonged to a line that had been wiped from every archive. Every scroll, every tongue. It was the name of a royal bloodline that once ruled 5 galaxies, feared by empires, guarded by warriors who gave their lives without question. And now it had returned. In a child barely taller than Rain's chest, the veiled crown didn't attack. They stepped back, kneeling, slowly, in silence. One by one, Rain stood still, watching them. The mother was trembling. How does she know that name? Rain didn't answer right away. Then he turned to her, because it never left her. Names like that don't die. They sleep. And when the voice is right, they wake. The girl turned, confused. Am I a queen now? Rain shook his head gently. You are something more dangerous? Then why did they kneel? The mother asked, her voice shaking. Rain's face darkened. Because they think she'll become what her blood says she must. But they don't know her heart. Not yet. He walked to the girl, knelt down, and looked into her eyes. I'll ask you only once, Sarathel. You want the throne that follows your name? Or do you want a different path? She didn't answer right away. Her small fingers reached for her mother's hand. Then she said quietly, I want to protect the ones I love. Not rule the ones I don't. Rain smiled. Then we'll build something new. But behind them, something moved. One of the kneeling crown agents collapsed, his body twitching. A new light was coming. Something red, angry, ancient, the crown. Weren't the only ones who had heard her speak the name, and those who had tried to erase her were coming to finish what they started. The ground shook before the sound arrived. The air turned heavy thick like it had swallowed a scream and was holding it in. Far beyond the hills, the clouds split open in a red flash, and from the tier came the ones that had no face, no name, no mercy. They were not hunters, not scouts, not even soldiers. They were finishers, sent to erase, not to conquer, sent to wipe away bloodlines, songs, and history until nothing remained but silence. Inside the bunker, Myron held tightly to her mother's arm. Her name, Sarathel Vanastil, echoed in the walls, but now it felt like a spark in a field of dry grass. Rain stood at the door, body straight, jaw locked. "They're not here to negotiate," the mother whispered. "I know," Rain said. He pulled something from the inside of his coat, a dull piece of metal shaped like a broken star. Its edges were worn smooth, like it had been touched 1,000 times, maybe more. "What is that?" the mother asked. Rain didn't answer. He walked outside. The red light in the sky grew brighter. Shapes descended, dozens, hundreds. Machines. Weapons. War beasts. Carriers that floated like ghosts. The bunker's shield wouldn't last a minute. But Rain didn't hide. He stood at the edge of the field. Eyes locked on the firestorm falling from the sky, Myron watched him from the doorway. "He's not scared," she said quietly. Her mother pulled her close. "He's not allowed to be." The girl turned. "Why not?" The mother looked at her daughter's face, so young, so ancient, because he was trained to be the last line, the one who stays when all others run. Outside, the sky cracked. Open. Red thunder rolled across the horizon, and from it came the lead ship, huge, black, carved from dead stars. Its voice was a scream, felt in the bones more than the ears. It hovered over the field, then spoke. "Return the song-bearer, or be broken." Rain stepped forward. He didn't raise a weapon. He raised the broken star. The ship paused. "You hold the mark of the betrayer," it said. "I do," Rain replied. "That name is cursed." "I wear it still," he said. A flash of light exploded in the sky, but it didn't come from above. It came from Myron. She stepped out beside him, small, glowing eyes calm. The warships adjusted. Their weapons locked onto her. The mother screamed, running toward them, but Rain raised his hand. "Wait." He looked at Myron, voice soft. "This is your choice now, not mine." Myron nodded. She stepped forward again, saying, it wasn't loud, it didn't echo, but every machine in the sky froze. The red lights turned gold, the weapons powered. Down the storm paused, the war beasts collapsed, and in the silence that followed, Myron whispered a single word: no. The name they wanted had chosen peace. The legacy they feared had chosen mercy. The ships trembled, then began to retreat.
One by one.
They left without a sound, folding into the sky like smoke and wind, vanishing as if they had never come. When the last engine faded, the clouds broke open, and sunlight poured down on the wet grass. The mother dropped to her knees, weeping. Myron walked back to her, arms wide. "I didn't want to fight, Mama." Her mother hugged her tight. "You didn't have to, child. You showed them something stronger." Rain turned, quiet as ever, and began to walk away. The mother looked up. "Where are you going?" He paused. "Where I'm needed." Myron ran to him, grabbing his hand. "Will you come back?" Rain knelt in front of her. "I never left," he said, tapping her chest gently. "I'll be with you, always here." Then he stood, and without a sound, without a title, a banner, or a goodbye, he walked into the hills. Not as a soldier, not as a savior, but as the one they couldn't break.